Ah.
Freeze!
That was so enthusiastic. Hi, everyone. Don't mind the screaming child in the background.
I will take care of him promptly. Throw him into the river.
He was like, "Yeah, don't mind me." As soon as he's done with his round, I have to send him to fetch my medicine, which I wisely decided I needed to take at 7 every day when my stream starts. Normally, I would have just gone and grabbed it, but this is around. The headphones and I are not going anywhere. So while we wait for people to come in, how is everybody's weekend?
What
did I do this weekend?
It has come to my attention there's a book launch going on right now, so I don't know. So people might be there. They might come from there. I don't know, but congratulations to Lindsay for releasing The Glass Witch.
Oh, congratulations.
Feel bad posting right under her that we're live right now, but one must do what one must do. So yes, Matt, how was your weekend?
I'm just desperately trying to remember what I did.
I've had those
I went hiking. I went hiking on Saturday, and that was fun.
You were looking for parts.
Leaves. Yeah, I was out there like just looking for body parts. Found some.
You have to make more.
Yeah.
Since that
I went to a bodybuilding competition.
Oh, I love that tweet where it's like Frankenstein entered a bodybuilding competition. Yeah. Frankenstein was was the doctor. Like, yeah.
They're like, yeah, he built a body.
Then like you don't ever find out how he did it.
No, you don't. That's actually like in my notes that we don't know what Frankenstein's made of.
I love that that's just like off screen.
No, you don't know. You don't know the procedure either.
Well, I imagine if you knew the procedure, you would have an idea of what he was made of, because, yeah. What are we even talking about? Today, we will be talking about simulacrums, which I will go into more detail after, we get things going in a little bit. Turn your stuff down. The child decided to wait to do his game time until now, so here we are, sharing a desk. What you mean, not today? All right, but Jess, since you so vocal, no, actually, I know how your weekend went. Never mind.
I was at work.
So yeah, my weekend flew by in a sick haze, and therefore I didn't get to do much of my research until last night. So, y'all, I didn't do as much research as I wanted, but I still got quite a bit done. So we'll be good.
That's every college paper I ever did. So it works. Speaking of, I feel like I went for Gene Wilder and ended up at just like a med student.
No, you're Henry.
Henry?
You're Henry.
You're Henry Frankenstein.
Oh.
You're the movie version.
That's fair.
That switched names for some reason.
I firmly believe that the screenwriter for Frankenstein got the two names mixed up, wrote the entire screenplay, didn't realize it until the movie was recorded, and then just never told anybody. They were like, well, I fucked up.
Or Victor and Henry, movie creator and book creator were wildly different in their approach. So he was like, what if Henry married Victor and then made the body?
I suppose that's fair. All right. Let's go ahead, I suppose, and get. Oh wait, my weekend was all right. Sunday was a really good writing day, and I zoomed with a friend. So good, I guess. Nice. It's in my basket. It's in an orange bottle, and my vitamin D. I take them both at the same time. So. Right. Yes, it's in my room, in my basket. So let's go ahead and do intros so we can jump into this, because it is a night that Chris and I are both here and a school night, so we can't linger too long past the beginnings of bedtime. So introduce yourself.
Oh, I am Matt's creation. I I don't even know. Okay, so I'm really Chris Calavera. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram. All I do is really shit posts. Uh, I am a dad, and I like to write. I've switched gears. I guess I'll come out and say it. I've switched gears. Now I'm going to try to make a middle grade story thing now. Yeah. Still basic concepts are the same. 3 siblings, 2 brothers, 1 sister. But like they get isekai'd into a Mesoamerican inspired world and they fight back
What, baby?
the Spaniards. Or something like that.
No, it's mommy's basket. It's an orange bottle.
And
Creator.
I'm Matt Hollon, and I create life. I also am a dark fantasy author working on my debut dark fantasy adventure novel. I have a pirate short story called The White Harvester available for purchase in Sasha Black's The Rebel Diaries anthology.
Read it. It's good.
Yeah, read it. It's good. It's also featured alongside 12 other short stories, and it is available for purchase on Amazon and other book purchasing platforms. You can also follow me on Twitter and Instagram, where I post sometimes. And you can also catch me on my YouTube channel, where I will be hosting a worldwide Writeathon stream.
Social sprint number 5.
Yeah, social sprint number 5 this Saturday from 8 to 11. Sam will be there. CB Ferenz will be there. And Savion Taylor will be there. So it's going to be a full-blown party with some sprinting thrown in. And yeah, I think that's all we got.
I don't think you should call
my
yourself
dresser?
the White Harvester. It just sounds kind of weird. I mean, that's what you are or were. I don't know how you want to say it, but yeah.
Hun, can you show the child where the medicine is? He's starting to stress.
What is he
Daddy's
looking
gonna
for?
show you where it is. My my new meds and my vitamin D.
Where did you put them?
In my basket. Which I've said 5 times. I see how much attention. Hi, I'm Writing Bride Samantha Nasset. On my channel, I talk about mom things, parent things, writer things, writer parent things. On Mondays, I host live streams, sometimes like this, where we talk about whatever the fuck I want to talk about, which this week we're going to be talking about Simulacrums. I'll explain that in a moment. If you would like to read a sample of my writing, you can go to my website, samanthaalnasset.com, where I have a spooky flash fiction called Until Pizza Do Us Part, and a murderous villain short story, All That Glitters. Both are completely free and fun to read. At least I feel they're fun to read. And while you're there, if you would like to keep up to date with all things Sam, you can sign up to my newsletter. And if you like this Let's Talk and you like writing sprints and productivity sprints, you can like this stream, subscribe, ring-a-ding that bell, and you'll be notified whenever I go live. And if you would like to help, or if you would like to tip, you can do so at my Ko-fi down below.
Give Sam money.
I'm stealing a drink of my child's cup. He's going to have lipstick on his straw. Then, all right. So, first question of the day, which sent me down a very long history rabbit hole of what exactly is a simulacrum. Well, which I may be saying the word wrong. We will never know. So it basically means an image or representation of someone or something. A like small scale one. Wait, what? Sorry, I copy pasted the dictionary definition, and I don't understand number 2. But yeah, so it's just like a recreation of something, whether that be artistically, literarily, anything. Like Disney World is considered the greatest simulacrum. It's a replication of reality that makes it seem so amazing and magical that reality itself stops being as appealing. There's a lot of philosophical history with simulacrums based on discourse on what they are, what qualifies as one, what is the meaning of one. Are they merely a are they merely a reputation? Are they inferior? Are they superior? This is something that's played with a lot in history and played with a lot in media, especially like sci-fi media has so many. But they also, because it's just like a representation of like people, can be like statues, golems,
the Pokemon,
stuff like that. Yes, the Pokemon. No, not the Pokemon. Well, maybe.
No, this is your
actually
thing.
Maybe, yeah. Automatons count. Is he living?
Yes, he's living.
Okay, then I guess he don't count. But yeah, so that's the bare bones of what they are. They're so it is a huge, broad subject. I have hopefully broken down talking point. Yeah, I already did the whole history. Oh, some historical ones that I like wanted to go over. So first of all, we've got automatons, which an automaton is a self-operating machine, or like mostly self-operating, but like specifically non-electronical. So like cuckoo clocks are considered, because they just like have mechanisms and stuff, and the mechanisms work without it. Which, interestingly, my favorite fact that I have learned is the guy who invented the first cuckoo clock was hydropowered, and it was made by the first historian of the Library of Alexandria. That was apparently just his hobby, to make hydropowered automatons.
I love that someone back then working at the Library of Alexandria was like, my clock should have a bird in it.
Right. Like, just like, my clock's too boring.
Like it needs a mascot.
Isn't what that word now is like synonymous with robots?
Yes. The evolution. Yeah, the evolution of that is like animatronics is now like the modern form of an automaton. It's still like the adding the ICS to the end is for the electronic ones. So it's like an automaton is non-electronic. Animatronics are electronic ones. You know what bowling ball actually? I mean bowling alley. But the reason that they're considered simulacrums is because they're usually, or at least they used to be, in the form of animals or humans before some sort of renaissance. I am having a little bit of brain fog, so even though I just like learned all this and I was super eager to talk about all of it, my brain's like, you remember nothing now. Reread all of your notes 4 times.
That's because he messed up and put the wrong brain in there.
Yeah, that's my bad.
Matt, how could you?
No, it was Jesse Gore.
Yeah, I told him not to put the fog in there, but he was like, "It's spooky if there's fog.
It's the spooky season. We need it.
There's got to be fog." And I was like, "No, not in the brain." So I'll take that.
I'm just rereading my notes. You guys can talk. Oh, in Egypt. I think these ones are used in media quite. At least when I read it, I vaguely recalled this being a thing. So either I learned this as a teenager or I've seen it in a movie. Is there like statues of divinity, which were usually made from like stone, metal, wood, and all of that, were like the heads moved. They could like nod or shake their head, and it said that like pharaohs consulted them because, for example, like a statue of Ra was said to, like, you could have part of Ra's soul, so you could speak directly to Ra. So like Pharaoh Hatshepsut was said to have dispatched her squadron to the land of incense after consulting a statue of Amun, which I found really cool.
So like they had super bobbleheads.
Yes, they had.
The bobblehead and the Magic 8 Ball mixed together.
They kind of had that in The Mummy, like when the Thing came alive, and they were like trying to kill Brendan Fraser's character, who I don't remember his name.
Oh God, what is his name?
What was his name?
Rick.
Rick,
he's just Brendan Fraser.
Rick O'Connor. Rick O'Connor.
Yeah, there we go. We got there.
Yeah, those would have counted, definitely. Hephaestus made a lot of automata for his workshop, which I feel like Percy Jackson shows a lot of that. Talos was, these are Greek ones now. Talos was an artificial man of bronze who protected Europa. Like, he was just this giant naked bronze statue that walked along the beach and fought off pirates.
Don't they have the Colossus of Rhodes too? Like that big thing. That's a simulacrum.
Yes.
Oh, I just need to load first.
We can also just call them fake people. Oh, King Alcinous had gold and silver watchdogs, which I was mildly jelly. And apparently Daedalus had some sort of magic-ass quicksilver that he just put into statues, and it let them, like, do things. It let them, like, move or talk. Okay, so what I'm hearing is that the Mummy is true.
Yeah.
No,
the Mummy is historically accurate. 10
that all went down for sure.
No, moving.
You busted a move.
Well, moving isn't necessary for a simulacrum in general, but like automatons do move. So it might have been a simulacrum, but not an automaton.
This is just the historical stuff. They're basically just effigies of things that are real.
Yes, that's the section I'm in right now. Because I wanted to go over these ones because I'm like, this one probably won't be so interesting to everyone who's not a history nerd like me. But I always feel it's good to know like the real world references that things pull from. And some of these, it's also questionable as to whether or not they were real. So it's like, maybe they were, maybe they weren't. So, when the holistic world came about, then people went away from them looking like animals so much and just started making like automata that were tools or like useful or to demonstrate scientific things. Now, this is another favorite of mine. In Jewish legend, King Solomon had a throne with automata animals that like every time he got onto the throne, they hailed him as king. When he sat down, an eagle put a crown on his head and a dove brought him a Torah. And then as he stepped onto the throne, like a golden ox and a golden lion would put out their feet and just help him walk up the steps. And I'm like, I would like to be that level of extra. That my whole ass chair is just a bunch of animals.
On here with a Dr. Dolittle throne. Love it.
Yes. That's my last note too. I wish to be that level of extra. Oh, this is like one of my I say it's my favorite. I'm sorry, I have a lot of favorites. I'm not picky sometimes. So in like 400 BCE, Yan Shi in China was an artificer, and he almost got his ass murdered when his simulacrum flirted with the ladies at court. Because like King Mu of Zhao was not playing around. I'm just gonna read this directly. So the king. So this is like an excerpt of something that described the event, and it said the king stared at the figure in astonishment. It walked with rapid strides, moving its head up and down, so that anyone would have taken it for a living human being. The artificer touched its chin, and it began singing perfectly in tune. He touched its hand, and it began posturing, keeping perfect time. As the performance was drawing to an end, the robot winked its eye and made advances to the ladies in attendance, whereupon the king became incensed and would have had Yen Shi executed on the spot if he hadn't, in mortal fear, instantly taken the robot to pieces to let the king see what it really was. I'm like, this man was like, you ain't getting my ass killed. And then, like, the king saw that it was a construct of leather, wood, glue, and lacquer, variously colored white, black, red, and blue. When he looked at it closely, he found it had complete internal organs: liver, gall, heart, lungs, spleen, kidneys, stomach, intestines, and then, muscles, bones, and all of that. But they were all artificial. And when the king tried, he took the heart away, and then the mouth couldn't speak. He took the liver, and the eyes couldn't see. So he just slowly dismantled this poor little robot man because he flirted with the ladies at court.
When you started talking about the organs, I'm like, yo, the vibes are getting off real fast.
Right? That's which kind of leads into some of the later, more modern themes that Simulacrums bring up of what is humanity, what makes something human, at what point do you start being human, and at what point do you stop being human, which I find fascinating. I wonder if that's where the idea of Iron Man taking off his suit at the end of Avengers 1 came from, where he walked into the apartment and every step. Bruh, that would be dope. So I just need to become Iron Man in order to achieve King Solomon's level. Some less physical versions, like holograms, which we're going to ignore what real holograms are, because apparently real holograms are nothing like fictional holograms.
What's a real hologram?
It's bro, I didn't read this part in depth. Nor did I make notes on it. Okay, so a real hologram, which, fact check, do your own research. I am attempting to remember what I read at 5 this morning. Is there's one wavelength, and then they take another wavelength, and these wavelengths crash against each other and create an image. That is all I remember. But in fiction, holograms can, Leia from Star Wars, they're 3D pre-recorded things, or they're fully interactive representations of an image that can move. But if I understand right, basically scientific holograms originally couldn't move or anything. They were just a reproduction of a picture, and that was it. So it was a 3D representation of an image. Whereas scientists made a bunch of promises for what holograms would be, and then sci-fi writers went bet and wrote it into sci-fi. Which they're usually projected images that can move and stuff.
So Cortana?
Yes, Cortana. A lot of times they're used for AI, and then sometimes in the sci-fi show Andromeda, these AI will then gain physical bodies. Yes, Data from Star Trek is definitely one.
What about 6 of 9 or 7 of 9? I don't remember.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Star Trek. He knows. The creator.
Star Trek? Oh no.
What?
No.
Kelly, what is 6 of 9 from Star Trek, please? Is it a robot, an android? I must know.
He's a board, but there's 9 of them, so I don't remember if she's real or not.
I did not have time to look into cyborgs because I wanted to know about cyborgs, since cyborgs technically start as people.
Yeah,
but
so I don't
I don't
I
think
don't
they count.
know if she is or isn't. That's all.
Well, I don't think cyborgs count because cyborgs are technically just modified people.
Okay, yeah, she's a cyborg, I think.
Yeah, cyborgs. So I don't think that would count. But like I said, I wasn't able to like do a deep dive into cyborgs, unfortunately. So a fun thing for wait, still in the holograms. Uh,
Jam.
so in a like roundabout way, though, fiction has inspired real life, and people are trying to actually develop like those kind of holograms. Augmented reality is getting really close to it. Also, Riot Games specifically used HoloNet tech for their virtual band's performance with actual singers, and those were some really high tech holograms. I specifically looked up if those count as holograms because I was like, I'm pretty sure
Yeah, that
Kata.
confused me. I was like, "What is that? What did they add these posts? They're like, what's
Yeah,
going
right. But
on?"
no, they're actually which anybody look up Kata's world live performance where so Kata's a virtual band and they are voiced by real singers and the singers did a live performance dancing alongside the holographic images of the characters that they portray. And it's pretty wild. So the next historical one is like gargoyles, which are originally just really fancy rain gutters. Like that was the
Oh yeah,
purpose
the
they
water comes out their
originally
mouth.
served.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just about everywhere in the world had lion heads or something similar. And then at some point, I forgot which country in Europe was like, but Gothic architecture and made them ugly things. They're they're literally called grotesque chimeras or bosses. Like but yeah, like Greece, Egypt, Etrusca and Rome all had them. And then in fiction, interestingly enough, it wasn't until the 1930s or like the early 1900s and the 1930s when gargoyles were used in fiction. Like before then, gargoyles were just kind of considered these effigic guardians, right? They guarded the buildings that they were attached to. They guarded them from the erosion that water caused. No, they were supposed to guard them from like evil spirits and stuff, right? Look, Goliath is a glorified rain gutter. I'm sorry, I don't make the rules. He just is, Fox. So, the first representation, I only wrote down the first representation of each of these. So, gargoyles in 1932, the notion of them being used as evil tools was introduced by somebody named Clark Ashton Smith. He wrote a pulp short where the MC accidentally infused two gargoyles with his hate and lust. I guess he was just so hateful and lustful while he was carving these gargoyles that his emotions went into them. They went on like a murdering rampage. And when he decided to destroy them, they killed him. I don't know if that's how the short ends, but that's all the information I had gotten. So yeah, that's when they're like evil tools. And then in 1932, it introduced demonic gargoyles, like gargoyles as demonic vessels. There was a demon familiar bound into a horned and goat-like gargoyle. In 1902, Dorothy and the Wizard in Oz had the first race of gargoyles, but these ones were not nice ones. And Fox, in 1994, the very first representation of friendly races of gargoyles were Gargoyles, the Disney cartoon.
There was
Which
that movie.
it's a what movie?
There's a movie,
No soda.
I Frankenstein, where like we saw it, but it was kind of shitty. So like Frankenstein lives into the modern
And your
world,
soda. Go.
and like he's fighting against the forces of hell, but the forces of heaven are gargoyles.
What year was it made?
2009.
Well, I told you I only wrote down the first one.
I know. I'm just
Yeah,
saying.
that would be one. See,
That's
I feel like anytime a
double
gargoyle is
symbol crush.
not used as a guardian or a guard, you're misrepresenting my stone bros. Like they're guardian.
Oh, and that motherfucker Galileo.
Yeah, Galileo from League of Legends. He's a fair representation. Some non-moving ancient examples are like the Terracotta Army. I'm sure like everybody's heard of the Terracotta Army, right? Which guards, I pray I say this name even remotely close to correct, Qi Hong, the first emperor of China, in his necropolis, which I got to discover that his underground dead city has a thing. It's a necropolis.
It's such a cool term.
It is. It's a really cool word.
It is a cool word.
They're considered funerary art. In some works of fiction, they come to life and actively fight to protect the tomb. I couldn't actually find any myths or legends that say that that's what they're going to do, other than just like, this is funerary art, so he can take them to the afterlife.
Oh yeah, I really thought he was gonna have them. So when he died, he wake up and like, yeah, I got my. And they.
Yeah, nothing like that. They just guard his city. That's what they do. And then, so the Ushabi/Shabi/Shawapti of Egypt has a fairly long history that I will summarize very quickly. They're basically just these little statue things that get buried with people. And originally they were mummy looking, but then at some point they had a hoe and a basket to represent their like intended labor task. And they're basically your servants in the afterlife. But like you have to inscribe them with your name and title and a spell from the Book of the Dead.
The Necronomicon?
No, the Book of the Dead. The Egyptian Book of the Dead. That's just its name. I don't know its
name.
I love that there's like a legality to it of just like you have to sign for it.
No, specifically like so also depending on what is like, okay, so the Shabti specifically has to have the 6th chapter of the Book of the Dead, which is translated as like Illumine the Osiris, and then like name of the deceased, whose word is truth. Hail Shabti figure, if the Osiris, name of the deceased, be decreed to do any of the work which is to be done in Kerneter. I said that wrong. Let everything which standeth in the way be removed from him, whether it be to plow the fields or to fill the channels of the water or to carry sand from the east to the west. The Shabti figure replieth, I will do it. Verily, I am here when thou callest. So you basically are writing a contract on your tiny figure. So that you don't have to do the work in the afterlife. They will do it for you. If it's not a Shabti, like if it's just an Ushabi or a Shawapti, I think you can just put anything from the Book of the Dead in there. But like Shabtis are very specific. And they're normally made from like clay, wood, stone. The earlier ones were made from wax. The later ones were made from less perishable things like stone, terracotta, metal, glass, and most frequently, when they were still popular in use, glazed earthenware and Egyptian faience, like a specific way that Egyptians make their glass earthenware. And they were probably batch processed at some point from the same mold. So that was my real life examples, or real world examples. Fun fact, Zed from the Disney movie Zombies' last name is Necropolis. That's awesome. He's from this. His name is City of the Dead. The amazing thing about the Terracotta Army is the faces. Like, so the Terracotta Army, each terracotta soldier is modeled after one of the soldiers from his armies. So like they're all modeled after actual people, which I'm like, that is some dedication and kind of like cool. That was very respectful to me that he was just like, all right,
I want y'all.
I want y'all with me forever.
You specifically.
But like not your actual bodies. You can
You can keep those.
Your family. I'll just have you terracotted. It's fine. So yes, thank you for bringing that up. That's like a really interesting or fun fact for me. All right. Yeah, see. I love learning things. This is why I do deep dives, even when like I think I already know things, because then I learn so much more. Like Pygmalion, which we will get into. So, I put pop culture icons. This is really just kind of whatever we want to talk about now. Just like break into them. Like y'all want to talk about Frankenstein, so Frankenstein is like the first sci-fi example of one of these, and kind of like popularized the whole man versus monster thing.
Monster versus monster.
That's probably more accurate. Don't be shy, you two. Go ahead.
Oh, like what's the question?
Well, you guys wanted to talk about Frankenstein?
I don't know where to jump from.
Okay.
I'll let the creator go first.
The creator.
I just found my Frankenstein.
No, no, you're right. So you mentioned that like he didn't. It says he's made out of body parts.
When I looked, it said that he is made from non-living metals, but it does not actually. I could not find anywhere that it specified what he was made out of.
Well, it's more like when he described a few parts to it. When he said when he was trying to put the nerve endings together, he found it difficult working with smaller subjects. So he opted for bigger, and that's why Frankenstein was like 7 feet tall. And then he later says that like his skin was like stretched tight against its muscles, which I mean, I guess he doesn't specify he used human skin or all that, but like,
yeah, I think it's left a little bit for interpretation, but pretty well implied that he's using human body parts. But I don't think it's ever like flat out stated in the novel, like, and he grabbed some arms and some staples and went to town.
Started harvesting some.
But which was weird because like he's supposed to be like. It's weird because he like made them really big. So like
8 feet tall.
Where do you get all the extra big pieces? I always wondered. So like, did he just cut off like pieces of thigh and stitch pieces of thighs together?
I want to say like it's like, yeah, I think he probably like stitched a bunch of like
get some extra
bits together. Like
I tried to say, like when Chris and I were talking about that the other day, I tried to be like, maybe he just like only harvested from really tall people, and Chris like,
but he's 7 feet tall, 8 feet tall. So like,
I think he's the equivalent to like 3 kids in a trench coat.
Like, has extra thigh.
Like I think it's just they put a thigh on top of a thigh, you know.
But like the procedure, like in the movie, he says he found like a wave of or a ray or something that will help animate the corpse, and he uses lightning to help jumpstart it. Basically, that's not in the book. He's like, I'm not going to tell you how I fucking did it. Yeah. There's some chemical process involved because he's talking about like, oh, I'm going to take these chemicals with me and shit to like when he's making the bride. But you don't know.
There's an episode of season 2 of Buffy where someone resurrects their brother and tries to make him a girlfriend out of dead girl body parts. That's 100% Bride of Frankenstein reference right there.
So one thing that I might be misremembering with Frankenstein, because it has been a hot minute since I've read that novel, but one thing that I think is pretty cool with it is I think when he was designing him, he wanted like really pretty parts and like really beautiful from like beautiful cadavers. And then he was like, dang, this thing looks great. And then once it brought it to life, he's like, that's the most terrifying thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, there was a direct quote in the thing I was reading, and that's pretty accurate. He was like admiring its beauty, and then he brought it to life, and it opened its eyes. And when the monster opened his eyes, Dr. Frankenstein was like, my God, that is eerie.
Which I think brings into like the whole reason why simulacrums work really well in the horror genre.
Yes.
Which is just like the whole uncanny valley aspect of things.
There's just something not quite right about them.
Right. We're just like, until it was alive, it was beautiful. Once it was alive, it's like, oh shit, that's not a human. Oh, that's scary.
But he's got to be something because, like, he scared that French family and shit.
Yeah.
Well, he's 8 feet tall.
Yeah.
Okay, like, but they still they were. Look, man. Granddad, yeah, the dad was like, "No, man, he's my friend or whatever." And they're like, "No," and they started throwing shit at him.
Yeah. But like, it's interesting that the scary part about Frankenstein's monster is that he's alive.
I gotta go to the bathroom right quick. So
okay, there are theories as to some of the like symbolisms in the book, and like that Mary Shelley was possibly alluding to at the time in the scientific community. There was a lot of talk about bringing people back from the dead with electricity or electrical pulses, and so that's probably why she did it the way she did it.
Yeah.
Also, that like Victor Frankenstein was probably based on Benjamin Franklin, and the monster is the U.S.
That's awesome. I've not heard that interpretation before, but that's great.
Because like Victor has the kite and the key in order to do the thing, and then the U.S. was like the leftover pieces of what England left. It's what the thing I was reading. All I remember from Frankenstein is where the doctor said something about loving a neighbor girl like you would love a cousin, and so he had to ask her to marry him. I'm so confused. That's questionable. Yeah. That's Victor. Victor, just marry Henry and be done with it. It's fine. So some things that like Victor calls. So Frankenstein's monster tells Victor that he's like, I ought to be thy Adam. And so a lot of later interpretations just name him Adam. But Victor himself just calls him creature, fiend, specter, daemon, wretch, devil, thing, being, ogre, which wretch has sort of lost its gravitas in modern language, but at the time that was pretty.
After reading the book, wretch lost his whole meaning to me because everybody was saying that word. Even the little boy was like, "I'm a little wretch." And I'm like, "Stop with the word."
Like, you keep on using that word. Some possible. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, I really like how much Victor hates his creation. Like, hates that thing so much.
Oh, he hates that thing. He hates. We're gonna call him Adam so much that like Adam's like, just make me a female mate. Just make me someone to love me so I won't be alone. Victor gets partway through the process and then destroys her.
Yeah. You know what it reminds me of? Did either of you watch The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy?
Yes.
Billy's spider son.
Oh my god.
No.
That is Frankenstein and Adam.
He probably didn't want to name it because it would humanize it more and make it more creepy. I mean, that's fair.
Man, the whole thing when he first animated the creature Adam was kind of funny to me because I was listening to it, and he like the creature wakes up and he's like, "Fuck, I made a mistake. I don't think I can handle this. I'm gonna go lay down," and he goes to sleep. And he wakes up, and the Adam's right, the creature's right there. Adam guy, I can't say what I want. He's standing right there, and you're like, "Oh fuck, he's here too. I'm gonna go out."
How you feel?
He leaves.
You're done.
That time period in literature, because anytime a character does something that they don't like, they go, "I'm gonna nap on this. I'll be back." It's like,
I'm a nap. It's gone.
I don't think you have time for that.
Which is it's actually kind of funny because like one of the possible metaphors for the novel that people believed is that like it's a motherless child just like seeking acceptance and then throwing like the worst tantrum ever, murdering a bunch of people and then murdering itself.
So you still gets me because like, you know, there's always like, well, no, like, you know, Victor is the monster, not the monster is not monster. He's just misunderstood. I'm like, yeah, okay, but like,
That's because a lot of people
He crossed the
don't know
line.
the book, though. It's because they get that from the movie, because that's the movie's thing.
Because like he crossed, like, you know, he spies on this like French family in Germany for like a year or something, and then they like he goes to see the blind granddad, dad, whoever, and then they find him and they chase him away, and then he finds Frankenstein. Well, as he's like running away, he meets the Victor's brother out in nowhere, and he's like, you know what? I'm gonna kill this kid. And so he's like, oh, okay. So like, I get your everybody hates you, but then he just kills him. I'm gonna get him now. And then stages what's it called? He he has it so like the blame is on like the servant.
He framed him.
There we go. Okay.
He framed him.
He frames a servant of the Frankenstein family, and Victor's like, no, it can't be. He can't have found me or whatever. And then she's killed, and then like Frankenstein's just hiking through the mountains.
Well, hold on. So the bride was killed, and well, basically Frankenstein tried to blackmail Victor into building the bride, because he was like, if you don't build me a bride, I'll kill the lady you love. And Victor was like, nah, I'm not doing it. I can't do it. And he kills the bride. And then Frankenstein tells him, I'm gonna find you on your wedding night. Like, gives him the exact day.
Gives him a date.
and then on the wedding night,
yeah, like I don't know if there's, I don't know if he needs sleep, but he needs to eat apparently. But like he just stalks Frankenstein this entire time. He's like, I know what you're doing, and then he just like, yeah, on your wedding day, he's tracking this motherfucker down.
And then like, and after she was killed, Frankenstein hunts the monster through like, they just keep going north and north to Antarctica, and then he's like so exhausted and he slips through the ice, and this like freighter finds him, and then he dies on the freighter. And then I guess the monster noticed that like Frankenstein wasn't behind him anymore, because he like doubles back, finds his dead body, and then he's just like so agonized with grief and everything. He's like, I'm gonna just burn myself, and then he does, and I'm like, sir, what was?
No, because that one dude told him, hey man, he died because of you. You fucked up, evil creature.
Yeah, the guy that found him, he's like, he finds the creation, and he's just like, wow, you suck, bro. It's like, no, you don't have the whole story.
You don't know everything. I just murdered.
You don't have the whole story.
I don't understand. Oh, okay. So there's also
that guy's one of my favorite characters in the novel. The guy that finds Victor Frankenstein, and it's just like, let's go. I just want to see ice, man.
I just wanted some fish, bro.
Yo, yeah, he was just trying to write a book, and he was like, I got some money, I'm gonna hire.
Yeah, like he's just
get a boat,
going on a little adventure. And he sees just this crazy, deranged scientist going like, I made a man.
This. No one will believe this happened.
Victor and the dude are a ship. Victor and anybody's a ship. So
I was about to say, he's shipped with so many. In season 4-ish, there's a monster in Buffy called Adam that was a bunch of monster parts put together. Definitely Frankenstein. So now it's the hour. What are all the Frankenstein interpretations? So what are your two's favorite interpretation? I have a soft spot for the movie adaptation that posed the question, who is the monster, who is the man? But they also like drastically changed everything. So
to be honest, I haven't consumed a lot of Frankenstein media outside of the original novel. Young Frankenstein, I watched once, thought it was a good movie. And I also like Frankenstein in Van Helsing, that movie.
Yes.
He's fun in that as well.
My two written down are Herman Munster from the Munsters. And then, isn't he called Adam in Van Helsing?
I don't remember. And I just watched that movie.
I don't remember either.
But yeah, I don't remember what they call him.
I do love Young Frankenstein. I saw it as a boy. I didn't understand the ending joke, but it's funny. I like how in the beginning, Gene Wilder. I don't know if it's in the beginning, but he's like looking through his Victor's notes, and there's a book. And it says how I did it. In the like Herman Munster from the Munsters is a good one. He's basically Frankenstein, but 1960s sitcom dad.
He's like a mix between the book one and the original movie one, I feel, because he's eloquent and well spoken and like kind of, according to the thing I like, because I was reading about the Munsters a couple weeks ago, he's supposed to have an eloquent American accent. Didn't know we had one of those, but Herman speaks with it. And but he's also like very childish and everything. So
Darn.
the cartoon ego. What cartoon was this from? Because I feel like I should know what it is.
The movie haven't seen the original Universal classic. I've seen some stuff on YouTube because I wanted to familiarize with it, and I understand its general plot and how it's a lot
Mice
different.
and Men.
Yeah, I guess that would be it,
He's
wouldn't
like
it?
Benny in
Because he was. I saw the scene where he was playing with the little girl, and then because they're tossing flowers, and he's like, "Oh, I guess if the flowers float, she'll float," and he tosses her. No, that was a mistake, and then everybody wants to kill him.
He just wanted to have fun. Yeah, he's just very much like Benny in the Mice and Men. So
There's like I said, there's that movie, I Frankenstein. I don't know. That's a weird one.
I never saw that movie. Isn't it a? Oh God!
Oh,
who plays the lead in that? It's the guy that plays Two-Face in The Dark Knight.
Yeah, it's that guy.
What's his name?
I forgot.
I was gonna say Harvey Dent. That is not
Aaron,
the answer.
Ansel Elgort, and I know that's not it because that's someone else.
Aaron Eckhart.
Yes.
Aaron Eckhart. I also saw him in another movie, and that was fucked up. But
so, the next Frankenstein has kind of evolved now in the pop culture media thing as like there's so many Frankenstein references. He's like a race of monster now, much like gargoyles are or mummies. Not just the thing like in Monster High, Frankie is the daughter of Frankenstein.
Oh, when the marriage actually ended up good instead of like we both was died.
Look, in all children's media, they have happy marriages and they have children.
He's in that one movie, Hotel Transylvania.
Yes.
Oh, isn't Lurch one? I don't know.
Lurch I think so. Lurch is a Frankenstein.
I think he's supposed to be.
It's kind of implied that Uncle Fester made Lurch, I think. So I would count Lurch, especially since he goes, he's like square shaped.
He's really fucking tall.
If nothing else, he's a huge ass reference. The next kind of like category I wanted to bring up of like really human, like the fictional fake humans is homunculi, which have a fascinating disconnect versus what they were originally. So like originally homunculi were like alchemists created little tiny people to serve as their assistants. And that is what a homunculi was.
I don't know. You might have wrote it down, but like I think it says they were like prevailing in like Faust or whatever. Like he had one, maybe. I think.
So that was a little later on because it actually lists Frankenstein and Faust as two of the earliest like deviations because like they had people-sized homunculus. But yeah, Faust, like I wrote it down. Let me go down to my Faust. It's in the pop culture section. And Johann Wolfgang von Goeth's Faust, Part 2.
For a name like that, you gotta write something like that.
The homunculus embodies, like, the homunculus is a servant, and it embodies the quest for a pure soul to be born into a mortal form, whereas Faust is trying to achieve an alchemist dream of leaving his mortal body and being a pure spirit. So it's like they're supposed to be foils to each other. But yeah, Faust has a homunculi. Typically in pop culture, they're like magic science grown humans with a focus on, but do I have a soul? If not, how do I get a soul? And then, or like the Nomu from My Hero Academia, or they're just like Frankenstein-ish monsters.
That's a weird one, isn't it? Because like they have homunculi in full metal.
Look, Jess, I did. I have that written down. I do. I promise you. I hadn't gotten there yet. That's what they thought. They're like, okay. So homunculi are created by putting 40-day-old sperm inside a horse and feeding the horse human blood while it grows.
40 days?
Oh, yeah. What you do is you putrefy the sperm in the horse's womb, and you feed the horse human blood, and then a homunculi is supposed to be born. And like,
we always have recipes on here.
We do. Let me tell you, I find so many fucked up things. I did a bunch of homunculi research as part of the. See, then this is also like your jam for contributing.
So you get a little bit.
I want to know who came up with that recipe.
I don't. Oh, the name was
somebody who tried it.
Oh, hold on.
I hope not.
They tried it.
I really hope
Paracelsus. Not. It was Paracelsus, and he wrote it down in the De Naturam Rerum. This was in the 1500s, the early 1500s. I wrote down all the names and the dates for you, Matt. You know who to time travel.
When I time travel.
Matt Recipes OMG. What a time for me to jump in. Yeah, hi, welcome, Tina.
Yeah, this is all a cooking vlog. We're making homunculi.
No. It's actually like, okay, so what the fuck was it called? All right, so I've got more. Well, let's see. This isn't a recipe, but Carl Jung thinks that anthropomorpharians from visions of Zazimos are homunculi. Even though they're not artificial humans, they don't serve nearly the same function. But he also equates them to the Philosopher's Stone and inner person. I wrote this note so I could bitch about the fact that this is the man that makes things convoluted. Him and people like him who are like, I'm going to apply this word to this other thing that has nothing to do with this thing. And then people are like, oh, yes, he's a smart guy. We go with what he says. And
there's Starbucks in alchemy.
They are.
There's Starbucks in alchemy. Those bastards.
There's a bit of homunculus in Data. There's the Star Trek episode where there's the debate if he has the soul. Well, that's the thing with simulacrums in general, is that a lot of them in fiction, like it's like androids especially, there's like that defining line of where does humanity begin and end.
So like
homunculi, I believe, have to have a distinctly human origin. So
like that's weird to me, because like not weird, but like that's in Frankenstein, the sequel, Bride of Frankenstein. That's where it comes from. They're like Henry Frankenstein meets with another evil scientist guy, and he has like jars of little people. He calls them homunculi, and he wants Henry's help to make a big one. And the trade-off is that they'll be able to make them like, I don't know, not murderous or smart.
So that's a reference to Count Johann Ferdinand von Kufstein and Abe Gilloni, who was an Italian cleric. They made 10 homunculi who could foresee the future and kept them in jars, which was rude. And then, like, Dr. Emile Betzny devoted a whole chapter to them in her Masonic handbook, Die Sphinx. The chapter was called, I'm not even going to try to pronounce that in German, Scrying Ghost.
Long chapter name.
So Frosty the Snowman counts as a simulacrum.
Oh my
yes,
god.
definitely. Based upon the magical folklore examples. We haven't got there yet, Tina, so you haven't missed it. They also could be created by using mandrake roots, burying them in a dead man's grave on the first Tuesday after a solstice, and watering it with milk that you've drowned 4 bats in, or 3 bats. Jess is uncertain as to the number of bats. So
probably depends on the size of a bat. Kind of like when a recipe calls for like 2 onions, it depends on the size of the onion.
Yeah, so before you go making your homunculi from mandrake roots, which seems to be the most humanitarian way so far.
Yep. I definitely prefer that method.
Definitely fact check how many bats you need.
You gotta kill 4 bats.
There's also...
Yeah, but you've got to do a lot worse to a horse if you want to go the other way.
I mean...
So there's also, like... there's a lot of theories and stuff that homunculi are actually originally based on the myths of a mandrake, because like that was just a thing. They never used the term homunculi for you can resuscitate the bat.
It won't be drowned. It'll lose its magical milk power or something.
Nobody said that. That's you just waterboard the bat with milk. For legal purposes, I am not actually advocating this. Do not hurt the bat.
But for educational purposes, what kind of milk?
Good question. There are many
cow,
different
goat, sheep. What are we working with here?
But yes, so like in the original lore of mandrake roots, that's like that recipe and everything could be how you make a little mandrake, which alchemists later also reference. So it's like a chicken and egg thing. It's like is the mandrake or the mandragora, that's what they're called. That's how you make a mandragora. So it's like, is the mandragora a homunculi, or are the homunculi all based on mandragora? So, but a mandragora is specifically the one that comes from the homunculi. I mean the mandrake. Interestingly, the demon lady who wrote those 7 book wizard series actually got her depictions of mandrakes fairly accurate to the lore. Nice. I love accurate representation.
So with homunculi, where do the Full Metal Alchemist homunculi fall into this? Because they're the homunculi I'm familiar with.
That's so weird that there's like the no moves, and then there's the fucking homunculi from...
Yeah, those are 2 like wildly different. I feel like the Nomus only count because technically Frankenstein counts. So I feel like there's like the Frankenstein homunculi and then the other homunculi. But that's just
I'm not sure exactly. I think Nomus are made from like dead people, and like they get...
We don't know if they're dead or living. That's never clarified. Just that they're made from people. Different parts of people.
Right, I know. That's what... Made from people. That's... And then...
The FMA homunculi fall in the realm of fuck no.
I don't remember what... Like, I know they're created when somebody tries to bring somebody back to life.
It could be, I assume they're more based on the Islamic alchemy, which like a Takwin is an artificial creation of life from minerals to profits. Like they believe in the whole chain cycle of life, and their primary goal of certain alchemists, their says that they want to imitate the function of a dermiuge, which is an artisan-like person responsible for maintaining the physical universe. So, and like one method for creating animal life was to find a vessel shaped like the animal, combine the animal's bodily fluids within it, then placing that vessel at the center of a model of a celestial sphere, which kind of looks like the Full Metal Alchemist alchemy circles. Mm-hmm. And then like heat is applied to it. So I would assume that Full Metal Alchemist homunculi and alchemy are more based on like the Islamic alchemy than Europe or than the...
Yeah, but I didn't remember how they were made exactly.
I know somebody they're around a philosopher's stone.
So I don't remember if Brotherhood and the manga work this way. I only remember the original anime, and it's basically
I've never seen the original.
I've only seen
Brotherhood.
So they take the mineral alchemic components of a human body and put those exact measurements into a circle. And then they cast a spell and it opens up the gate to where all the souls are kept. And then if you're lucky, you can get the right soul put back into that body. But otherwise, no, fuck you. You just like have created a thing in the like that physically looks like the person you were trying to resurrect. Which is why Locke looks like their mom. Because Ed actually made her when he tried to resurrect the mom. But yeah, they're supposed, yeah, I've only seen, and it's like 20 years ago. But yeah, that's why like Ed has the chemical components for a human body memorized. Like he quotes it a lot. So, which, like I said, falls in line with the more Islamic one, where the whole thing with their homunculi are from the material components to the prophets or the people. So, which now that I like say that out loud, I'm like, damn, Full Metal Alchemist actually might have done some legwork there.
Oh, like yeah, because there's also like those people were Islamic based too.
Yeah,
I forgot.
The Ishvalans.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you, the Ishvalans.
And they had very
rewatch that show.
Like Abrahamic names.
Mm-hmm. And it also, like Christian Rosenkreutz, who was an alchemist, said that the ultimate goal of alchemy wasn't actually making gold, but instead making human life. Christian said that the goal was to make an artificial generation of humans because it like represented the spiritual regeneration and other shit. It doesn't say other shit, but that's how I'm summarizing it. Yes. So, which also falls in line with Full Metal Alchemist, that they're looking for the Philosopher's Stone to to get immortality and to, I think, create the perfect human. I think was the thing. My next section, I just saw the word rude in all caps, and it was like kept them in glass jars. Rude. Yeah, there's my note on the Mandragora. So there's this thing called preformatism, which is wild and fascinating, but extremely sexist, and it was like very unimportant. But I just want to mildly complain about So the reason that the sperm in the horse is supposed to have worked is because they believed that like all life came from just tiny versions of itself. So they thought sperms were just tiny versions of people. And therefore you didn't actually need women to make people. You just needed men and little tiny people sperm.
Yeah, just a bunch of little guys walking around like this.
I'm like the audacity.
So that's so like that depiction in Panty and Stocking where they're all at war. And
yes, that's exactly it. Little people.
They have like little outfits on.
There's more details and stuff in it, but I'm like, sirs, no.
They did in Panty and Stocking.
It gets even worse because it's like because the sperm is little people, that means that the sperm also has little sperms. So those are little people, and it just like goes on forever.
Oh man, they nailed it. They understood biology for sure.
I don't know if this was the alchemist blaming them, but probably. Because like there's some snarky note. I like kind of recommend people go read the I'ma just copy paste that word wiki on the Simulacrum or on Wikipedia, because it's at least the part that I was skimming through was kind of mildly sassy, because they were like, yeah, alchemists never had an explanation for why babies looked like moms too, but no, I was like, damn. Hi and welcome. You came in at a fun time. I imagine some people like came into the stream, heard me say little people sperms, and just left.
They went, I'm going to skip this.
They're like, nope, we're good today. So it's also worth noting that in science today, homunculus can actually be used as a medical term. So in psychology, there's the visual representation of the somosensory cortex called the sensory homunculus and the motor cortex, and it's basically this chart that shows a distorted person because it like shows how much of your brain is dedicated to your different body parts and nerve systems. So like how much of your brain is dedicated to like sight or your feet or your leg or your butt and stuff. And I couldn't look at it last night because I had a mild migraine and I noped right out of that, but I felt it was important to note. And in medical science, the term can be applied to a teratome, which is a type of cyst. So, which is very grody, and I'm not going into detail. Google it. Don't Google it. You have been warned.
I don't know what it is, but don't do it.
And in pop culture, this is where things get contradictory and tricky, because like Frankenstein's monster is a homunculus, even though he's like huge and not teeny tiny. And then Faust's homunculus is also big and not teeny tiny. And then I said the rest of that. So, yeah, fun times. Did anybody have anything they wanted to say or add?
About homunculi?
Yeah. Jess, you got any more recipes for us?
I don't know that much about them. I only know what they had on TV, and clearly that's wrong because I didn't know they were supposed to be tiny.
Well, apparently not anymore because, like, they're just big now.
Didn't you say that one of the like goals for homunculi was to like purify the soul or something?
So it's basically like they wanted to sorry, somebody tagged me in Dubba. Need to make sure it's not. Okay. So no, it's the idea is that like they wanted to create a generation of artificial humans to improve upon our fuck ups because we're sinful. They want to purify the human race. I have no homunculi recipes, but I created my own for my story. I'm not giving that out. Hoarding the family secrets.
She's gonna have it where they
How are
have
we supposed to make some then?
Put sperm in the milk to drown the bats in, and then dump that into the.
No.
Dump that into the mandrake stuff or whatever, mandrake root.
No.
I think we should maybe just not make a homunculi.
Maybe not.
Maybe we just shouldn't make them. I don't know.
No, we need little servant people to do our housework.
All right, so.
Oh, I get it, because you're making people.
We're going to go over to, it says from materials, these are very loose categories. I'm just curious. Do you think you could go to a sperm bank?
You walk in with the horse and you go.
What?
Just one place.
Okay. So, a lot of stories about simulacrum in mythology, like the end goal is to become people.
Like Pinocchio.
Yeah, I know if I was a monetized channel, I would be in trouble, but I'm not monetized, so it's fine for now. I can't help it. The ancient world is questionable.
Oh, yeah. What did we say wrong?
All right, so yeah, so AI character arcs are often about becoming more and more human, or how are they different from humans, or do they have souls? And same in a lot of things. One example is Pinocchio. That's an Italian one, which apparently he wanted the book to end very tragically. He wanted the book to end with the fox and the cat, who are Pinocchio's enemies, hanging him.
Would he die?
Yes. He's
But
gonna
he
die.
can't. He's
He
made
wanted
out
it
of
to
wood.
be he wanted it to be a tragedy. Look, he's a magic puppet. Well, let's not.
Oh my god, that's like uh 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 the fucking plot of that one scary movie shit. You know what I'm talking about? The doll, Chucky, the
Oh,
child's play. He wants to become human, but he was human.
Is
Now his
Chucky a
soul's in the.
simulacrum?
yes.
Oh,
I
that's
think.
fun.
And
Yeah,
he's tiny, so he's like a homunculus.
which is yeah. I think he counts.
Would he be a homunculus?
He definitely counts into that reboot because in the reboot it's like an art. The toys
Yeah,
is
he's like an
actually just
AI.
a toy. Yeah, so it's an AI, not like where he was the soul of a murderer who got stuck in a.
Let me
But yeah,
tell
how
you,
does that
didn't
fit into
expect
this?
the Pinocchio discussion to be so enthusiastic.
Because he wants to be a real man. So like, just like Pinocchio.
Yeah.
That's how.
Well, I'm stuck on the Chucky thing.
What
So, like,
about it?
where does Chucky fall into? Like, what of the like subcategories? Which one does he fall
I would
into?
consider him a homunculi, just like the Full Metal Alchemist one, because the Full Metal Alchemist one were
But
people.
but he has a soul.
But yeah, Chucky has a
He
soul.
has a distinction. He has a soul.
Like he is a human soul.
The
trapped
AI
in a soul.
version, I think, is a homunculus. I haven't seen it though. The original one where he has the soul of a murderer is like,
Well,
what is he?
but the simulacrums of the automatons of ancient Egypt were said to have souls too. Little
Oh,
pieces.
well
Of
then
the
he's
soul.
So then
an
would Chucky be an
automaton.
automaton?
No, he'd be a doll. He's a vessel, so he's more like a gargoyle.
Ah,
Chucky. Gargoyle Chucky.
Well, there's like in the myth section, there's a lot of examples of like dolls being empty vessels for spirits, and then they come to life. So
Yeah.
ooh, damn it, Matt, motherfucker!
what?
That thing from What We Do in the Shadows, the doll.
Yeah. She is definitely one. She is like the perfect example of a simulacrum, actually, because she is like a tiny not replica. She's a tiny replica of a real person. Even has a little bit of her soul. So, or is that where her soul is housed? Because
That's
she's
where her soul is current. Because there's so much, Matt. You need to fucking watch it.
I know, I do. I watched the movie and it was so funny.
Well, now watch the show.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting sort of subsect of simulacrums, because like you said, like the debate around a lot of them is like soul, no soul, all that stuff. Then you have this Chucky subgenre where it's like definite soul, but like
Murder.
it's a guy's soul.
It's also kind of funny because I just wanted to make that anecdote that I think I said the wrong word. Anyway, that side note that he originally wanted it to end in tragedy, but they told him no. So instead, he made it as a story basically about a boy becoming a man, because like Pinocchio has to work hard, be good, and study, and then once he's proved his willingness to provide for his dad and do all of those things, he is allowed to become a real boy. But before then, he goes on like a wild adventure where he like promises the fairy, the blue fairy, that he'll be good if he becomes a real boy. She turns him into a real boy. Then he flees with Candlewick to the land of toys. Then he becomes a donkey. Then he joins the circus. Then he becomes a puppet again. And then in the final chapter, he becomes a real boy after he dedicates himself to being a good person and taking care of his dad.
In your research, did you come across the movie Artificial Intelligence?
I think it was on my note. I didn't get to the sci-fi section because I was still in this section.
Man, I only asked because I can't remember how that movie ends.
Hold on, I have things written down though.
but it's basically a Pinocchio retelling, but like instead of a puppet.
Oh yeah, that would have been listed under like yeah.
So there's a blue fairy, but the blue fairy is not a real fairy. It's like a Disneylandish statue princess thing in the bottom of the ocean or some shit like
She's
that.
an automaton.
She's an animatronic.
Fair enough. Sam has no favorite version of Pinocchio. She is apathetic to the tail. It's what I have written in my notes.
I used to really like Pinocchio, and I can't tell you what happens. I don't know what happened. Why in between him turning into the donkey, and then I don't know how that happens, and then he and Geppetto get stuck into in the whale.
Disney animated film, Pinocchio makes friends with a kid from the wrong side of the city, and they go to a carnival where they
I remember that.
drink like dead ass smoking cigars, drinking alcohol, getting drunk, and then they start being assholes. And when they make an ass out of themselves, they turn into asses.
I remember that. I just don't know how they got caught in the whale. Like, how did that get from that point happen?
Escape. I think with Jiminy Cricket's help, he escapes the circus. Geppetto like went looking for his son when his son ran away because Geppetto's a good dad. His son's just a piece of shit.
Oh my god!
And then they end up eaten by the whale together. I forgot how.
I don't think either of you seen it, especially the creator, because I was born before him somehow. There was a movie with what the fuck was his name?
Dead parts.
What the fuck? I think it was like Jonathan Taylor Thomas. Like I forgot. I think that was him. It was him. He was Pinocchio in a movie, and like at the end of the movie, when he's a boy, like a real boy, he like brings a block of wood to Geppetto, and he was like, "Hey, make me a girlfriend."
It's like, boy, you want everything.
He Frankensteined it.
He did. He Frankenstein. Well, hold on. Let me see which one came first. 1883 was Pinocchio, and Frankenstein was
before then.
What do you mean? I didn't. I wrote down the year for everything but Frankenstein.
I got this.
Thank you, Matt. Another interesting thing, because I like to know, like, the societal context of stories, and
1818 for Frankenstein.
Okay, so it was before Pinocchio, so that, yeah. So yeah, a lot of literary analysis describe Pinocchio as like a Western, like an epic hero, because he like that whole journey of getting into a bunch of shit, falling, redeeming himself. But then the structure is also told like folk tales of peasants who venture out into the world and then are naively unprepared for what they find and then get into ridiculous situations. I love that ridiculous situations is a part of that specifically, which was a huge issue at the time because of the industrialization of Italy. Of like they needed a lot more manual labor, so people were leaving their like small villages and stuff to go fulfill the labor and get paid well, but then like they don't know how the big city works. And apparently that was slowly becoming just an issue everywhere.
I need workers. I'm gonna make them out of wood.
I'll be right back. Just gonna
yeah, so like if we talk about the modern Prometheus, what about Prometheus? I don't know this thing. He told me he made people or something.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I did. I think that fits in the. I was like in the golem category, which is what I was reading. So because like for golems, Adam from the Bible technically counts as one because he was made from clay.
Made out of clay.
Yeah, I was only halfway through the golem section though, so I will be able to talk on that a little bit. But yeah, we can go to golems next if you want.
Don't matter to me. When are we doing robots? Tomo Odogato, Mr.
We can go
Roboto.
wherever anybody wants to. I'm just going down the order of my list, but I am not attached to anything.
Okay, well, I like how there's robots are included as a simulacrum, and like one of the best movie thingies ever is a simulacrum, the Terminator.
He is. He fulfills several roles there, like the animated creature that comes to life, the guardian thing.
No, well, I mean two, but in the first one, you know, he just tries to kill people.
That's fair. Which is another like theme with golems, because like with golems they either protect you or destroy you.
And there's a lot. I know there's a lot in sci-fi, and I know like the whole thing
unfortunately,
with like
didn't get to the sci-fi section. So if anybody wants to offer, there's androids in. They're actually called simulacra in Philip K. Dick's. We can build you the simulacrum. Now we wait for last year. Clans of the Alphane Moon, the penultimate truth, and they're called replicants in Do Androids
Dream of Electric Sheep, which I really don't remember that book now that I think about it. But
I know you read it.
I know I read it, and I just don't. I can't separate it from the movie in my mind right now. I know there's like big differences. I think in the book he sleeps with the girl replicant, and like he has an affair with her, and I just can't remember much else.
Which always brings up weird like consent issues, like because it's not a real person.
No, but like you do gain consent from the replicants. For like all intents and purposes, they're treated like secondhand citizens. So like they have their own thought process. They have their own like wants and stuff, but they do have like limitations, like programmed limitations, and they die quicker. So like in the movie though, it like the big thing is like whether what's his face, Harrison Ford is a replicant. Well, like I think one of the big deals is like in the movie is that like they're pretty much people, but they're not treated as people, and all they want to do is be treated as people.
Which is a really big reoccurring theme in sci-fi for like androids and robots. And I always find it a very like fascinating.
Yeah, because that's also like I think it's a plot point in like the Matrix, because like when you watch like the Animatrix, it shows you things. The robots were like they wanted like I think they wanted like what the fuck's the word? Like they wanted their own be recognized as a thing, and people were like, "Nah, y'all just robots." That's also like in Mass Effect. The what the fuck? What were they called? The nomadic race. The nomadic race that has to wear the things over their faces all the time.
I know what you're talking about. The one I'm thinking of is blue.
No,
got like a little cobra hood and then a flat face. Because it's mask.
So they created the Geth, which are like artificial intelligent robot things. Well, like a Geth is basically a robot, but like in it houses all the programs, and every program is counted as one individual. So like it takes hundreds of thousands of individuals to run one thing. So like it's really weird, but like they had an uprising on that planet because they were just treated as like secondhand citizens, and they were like, no, we want to be like observed as our own kind, and then they get told no, and then they took over the planet because they're robots, so like they don't have the same limitations as a person. They don't need windows on their spaceship because they can just have outer sensory things or whatever.
Like be connected to the ship to see outside.
They don't need like artificial atmosphere because they don't need to breathe.
They don't need atmosphere, so we're talking about sci-fi simulacrum now, Matt.
Oh, gotcha.
If there's any you can think of or want to discuss, like robots, AI, androids, Bender. Bender is definitely one.
There's an episode where he gets turned human. It was like a Halloween episode. He gets turned human, and then he was like, "Oh, all the stuff I did as a robot is now really cool as a human." And then he became really fat, and then he died.
No, that's so bleak.
No, but it was funny.
That doesn't mean it wasn't bleak.
It was. He died as he wanted to be.
Westworld. Have you guys seen Westworld?
I've seen like part of the first season, and I read a little bit more after what happened. I just couldn't get by that. I guess that's what also Sam brought up earlier, like about the consent issue, because the man in black raped that one.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna just say raped the
trigger warnings for people.
The I don't know who she is. The girl who played in True Blood.
The character's name is Dolores.
Yeah, the farm girl. Like he's in love with her or something. I don't know, but like, and I couldn't get past that much. And I'm like,
yeah. I mean, the whole show plays around with the idea of, again, in similar vein to the rest of this whole type of creature, plays into the whole like whether or not they're alive, whether they have souls, and stuff like that. Because
wills of their own,
right? Because like the whole thing that's supposed to like set it apart from other theme parks is that they have these things called oh god, what are they called? Basically, the robots have like little traits, basically little quirks that are like never the same twice, and it makes them basically human. And it's, you know, it's the same conversation that they all have of like man creating life that isn't human.
Yeah, it's a theme that's explored and re-explored in like sci-fi, especially sometimes fantasy, but mostly sci-fi.
Yeah,
and horror. But horror.
It's like in Blade Runner as well.
Yes.
In what?
Blade Runner.
With the replicants.
It's okay. Matt was going to the bathroom when we were talking about that.
Oh, did you guys already hit Blade Runner?
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah,
that's where I brought up the consent thing.
Yeah. Oh, I gotcha.
Speaking of like creepy consent things, so it's not sci-fi, but Pygmalion. So when I first learned of Pygmalion, I learned a very sanitized version of this Greek myth, in which like a sculptor made a sculpture who he thought was so beautiful that he prayed to Aphrodite to make her real, and she did, and then they like fell in love and were together. That is a sanitized version of what happened. So apparently Pygmalion saw some prostitutes, the proprieties of Cyprus, and he started to just hate the faults that nature gave women. This is the conclusion he drew from that. And so he vowed to stay celibate forever, right? He was just going to focus on his art. And then he carved a woman, and he decided that this ivory woman was so perfect that he fell in love with her. And he kissed the statue, and he fondled the statue, and he brought the statue gifts, and he made her a super nice bed, because that's what statues need. Really nice beds. And then during Aphrodite's festival day, he gave her offerings at her altar and prayed. He was like too shy to ask for what he really wanted. So he just prayed for the living likeness of my ivory girl. And then he went home and he kissed the statue, and the statue's lips were warm. So he kissed her again, and then woohoo, she was alive. And they got married. And in the in Metamorphosis by Ovid, they had a daughter named Paphos, but in other tales, Paphos is sometimes their son, and they have a daughter named Mitharme, I think. Yes. Yes. So I was like, that story got a lot creepier when I was.
What's the dude's name?
Pygmalion.
He's 2 thumbs down to him.
What? You're good.
What? I'm trying to figure out what the
his name also sounds like Pangolin.
Because apparently there was like a stage play called Pygmalion, and I guess I don't know, but like
there's a lot of adaptations of it.
I gotta imagine you changed that a bit.
Okay, but like, all right, yeah. So like, there's an adaptation for Pygmalion called Pygmalion, and then that adaptation is later the inspiration for My Fair Lady, which is about trying to transform a like uncouth woman into like a lady of society or something like that. And that's like a trope-ish like thing. And I think it was remade in the 90s as like a teenage romantic comedy, but I can't remember what the fuck that one was.
Is that a Pretty Woman?
Yeah.
Pretty Woman is one, yeah.
I think so.
But that's not the one Chris is thinking of.
Oh,
no, yeah, Pretty Woman definitely
we do a lot, I guess. Well, because there were so many. That was like a thing in the 90s.
Well, yeah, like Pygmalion really became
it was
icon like thing where it's like, damn, like, sorry, Pretty Woman sticks a little, like, mixes the original quite a bit because she's a prostitute, but yeah, so Pygmalion just becomes like the base tale of man can't find. Yeah, she's all that. Thank you, Jess.
He's all that.
Was not nearly as good a movie, but yeah. So just the base thing of like a man can't really connect with most women, so he creates the he creates the perfect woman, and then she gets the born sexy yesterday trope applied to her, and then he teaches her how to function in society, and they like live happily ever after. And then also the whole thing of, oh well, like I can fix her, which is just about making women into ladies. Yes, my apologies, sex worker.
Pygmalion also inspired some other movies, kind of like Bicentennial Man or more. And there's another one, the one I would prefer, Mannequin.
Yeah, Mannequin. Although I think in Mannequin, like, was he having dating issues, or did he just?
I don't remember. I just know the mannequin came to life.
And then he had to teach her to people.
It's only inspired because it was like inanimate woman object turns into a woman.
I have been resisting saying that exact thing.
I think that's a good point, because I think it connects back to all of the other ones we talked about. It's kind of a running theme that the creators of these creatures kind of suck, like pretty consistent, and they're consistently like men that suck, that are just like so upset that they can't control the world and that the world isn't exactly how they want it, so they just go and create life.
It's consistently things where it's like, stop trying to play God. It doesn't end well.
It's like, bro, you're not that good. You're kind of the worst. Stop doing this.
The one example that I had found so far, there could be more. Like I said, my research was incomplete, unfortunately. Well, it's always incomplete because there's always more to learn, but was limited compared to how I usually like it. Was Feathertop, which is an 1852 short story by Nathan Hawthorne, which I would like to first state.
The dude from the Scarlet Letter?
Yes, I think. He demanded $100 for this short story They paid him. And then he admitted to his friend John Sarton that he wouldn't have paid $100 for that story. And I'm like, damn, that's baller though. It's amazing how these are the classics we were taught in school and had to talk about how great they were. Right? Society. I don't know where I was going with my sentence, but yes, I love the Scarlet Letter personally. It was like one of my favorite short stories. I highly recommend it. I think it's really
I've heard it's really good.
The way that it's written.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't like it.
Well, that's fair.
He wrote it was like big paragraphs on the page. I couldn't even process that.
That's fair.
It's hard with that era.
All right, but compared to all the other American classics, it was actually interesting paragraph. But anyway, that's a Sam Wine for a different day. So Feathertop, which was written by Nathaniel Hawthorne, it's about a witch named Mother Rigby who builds a scarecrow to protect her garden, right? And she decides that she loves the scarecrow. She built so much, she just whimsically brings him to life, makes him look like a person, gives him a pipe that he has to constantly puff on to stay alive. Because I guess that works.
Sure.
And then she's like, you know what? And she sends him into town to romance this one guy's daughter. Doesn't like say why this specific guy's daughter, just that they had past dealings. Excuse me. And so he like goes into town. He and the girl actually like genuinely fall in love and they're doing good and stuff. They're gonna get married, and then like they see each other in a bewitched mirror. She sees that he's a scarecrow. He sees that he's a scarecrow. I guess he didn't know. And then she passes out. She like faints. He runs home to his mom, and then like he's just so upset and distraught. He takes the pipe out and just collapses into a heap. And then like Mother Rigby is just kind of like sighs, and she's like, you know, there are like shit people out there made of all the same kind of trash my scarecrow was, but like they keep going on living happy. I guess he's just better off as a scarecrow.
That's a great message.
I'm like, why didn't I know about this story? This story is great.
I like to imagine that on their first date, everything was going really well. She just goes like, hey, why do birds hate you? What's up with that? And he just goes, I don't know.
Like I noticed whenever we go to the park.
Yeah, the birds just bolt if you come near. It's weird.
What was that? It reminds me of that scarecrow from Howl's Moving Castle.
It does. It does. Yeah. What was the scarecrow's name in Castle?
I don't remember. Wasn't he like a prince or something? Like I literally can't remember.
But I think Sophie called him something else until
his Turnip Head.
Yeah, Turnip Head. That's what it was.
And his name was Justin, the missing prince from the enemy kingdom.
Well, it's funny because the is named Feathertop. So Turnip Head, Feathertop. Both for what their heads resemble.
Apparently, yeah.
But I was gonna say, to like contrast what Matt was saying about how all these men are trying to play God and it like never goes well, and they always just kind of like say, well, in Pygmalion it didn't go bad for him. Aphrodite gave him a woman, but right. Aphrodite was known for just randomly giving people to people. She didn't care. But then we've got this one about like a witch lady who just randomly was like, I'm gonna make a scarecrow and send him to seduce maybe my enemy or my friend's daughter, unclear. So that's a wild difference there. I ask y'all, is there anything you wanted to talk about or bring up?
I think the notion of like, I'm trying to think how to phrase this, but basically like the difference in these stories of when the creator actually loves their creation versus when they don't. Because like when the creator loves the creation, the story generally goes like, you look at Pinocchio, Geppetto's just like the nicest dude ever. And so Pinocchio, it works out for Pinocchio. Whereas Victor Frankenstein is the biggest dick in the world.
He made Frankenstein for his own ego and then decided,
right.
nope.
And then goes, wow, I hate that, actually. That's not the vibe. And so then Adam ends up being a dick because his creator's a dick. And it just brings up the whole, like, nature versus nurture conflict, which makes the Simulacrums a really good vehicle.
But Pygmalion loved his creation. Look how that
went. And it ended up.
It worked out. It's a gross story, but it does work out for him.
And he was a creep, but presumably the ivory statue.
It's a happy ending for him, just not for us. It's not a happy ending for the audience.
She could have led a worse life in ancient Greece, I guess. The only other thing I had notes on was golems, which golems it's kind of a fascinating category because originally they do come from Jewish lore, and there is some very specific Jewish lore about them. They kind of serve a very similar function to gargoyles or the Terracotta Army or like Ushabti. And Homunculi, really. Golems are just like your catch-all. they do any of it because you just like you can write your order or your command and then like on a little piece of paper and put it in their mouth or in their forehead, and then they perform the task. There's a lot of stories and folklore apparently about either them being very like good servants as long as you treat them well, and then if you don't, they murderize you. So get what you give.
One of my first interactions with a golem that's not the Pokemon is an episode of Extreme Ghostbusters where like they were being attacked by a Jewish golem, very specific.
Extreme dinosaurs.
And you find out that there. I think it's because it's been like 20 years. I think some person, like a teenager or whatever, he like stole like the thing you just said, the parchment. He wrote
the paper
command and like wrote what he like destroyed, who XYZ because they're fucking with me, and put it in his mouth, and like they had to destroy that to inanimate the golem.
I think it's called a shem. I'm double checking. It might be a shem, but it's supposed to be written in Hebrew though. So like it's supposed to be that like if you can't write Hebrew, you can't use the golem. So fuck you. Yeah, a ritualistic use of various letters of the Hebrew alphabet forming a shem, wherein the shem was written on a piece of paper and inserted in the mouth or the forehead. So. Oh, it was used in some Brothers Grimm's tales. I don't know those ones. Or maybe I do and I just don't remember them. But unfortunately, I didn't get very far in the golem section. But I did find that was kind of fascinating that I had read all these other things, which like have 1 to maybe 2 or 3 purposes. And then I got to golems. So it's like we can do it all. We can do it. Guard your tomb for centuries. On it.
Gotcha.
Serve you. On it. Go walk the beach and murder pirates. Just write it in my forehead.
You love the loyalty.
We do. The loyalty of the soulless.
Sure.
The soulless artificially created thing. So I think I only had one more thing.
It kind of sucks, but yeah.
What kind of sucks?
Oh, that like we just kind of didn't prepare for golems because I think golems.
I know, like I meant to.
Stories around like there's like the Golem of Prague, I think, and that's like
there's
a big one. But I didn't think
like
that
we can read right here.
No, my eyes hurt.
I will read.
He gave me the bad eyes. He found.
Also,
I only had a couple good ones.
Like a fun simulacrum, real quick. The gingerbread man.
That's true.
What about Frosty?
Yes, Frosty the Snowman. There's like Thumbelina also was apparently originally made by a witch, just a little tiny, like homunculi girl.
Is Mucka the thing? Like he's made out of sludge.
Sir, you keep referencing Pokemon.
Yeah,
And
well, I
then
mean,
when I try to tell you yes, you're like, no, they're animal things.
well, for the golem is he's a rock turtle. I just feel like that's actually like sludge that came to life. Oh, like what the fuck? The big pollution monster from Godzilla. He's made out of pollution.
Pollution monster from Godzilla?
Yeah, King not Hidora. Hidora.
Ghidorah's a dragon.
No, not Ghidorah. Hidora.
Oh, I don't know that one.
So the oldest depiction of the creation of a golem is the golem of Chelm, which is connected to Rabbi Eliyahu of Chelm in the 1500s. I got y'all a recipe, maybe. I have heard in a certain and explicit way from several respectable persons that one man living close to our time, hold on, I'm trying to. This doesn't tell me. You said that you were going to tell me about the creation.
Well, just like any recipe, you have to have like 3 pages of just like backstory, and then they'll have the ingredients at the bottom.
From my father's holy mouth regarding the golem created by his ancestor, the Goin Ar Eliyahu Baal Shem of blessed memory. He saw that the golem was growing larger and larger. He feared the golem would destroy the universe, and then removed the holy name that was embedded in the forehead, thus causing him to disintegrate and return to dust. Nonetheless, while he was engaged in extracting the holy name, the golem injured him, scarring him on the face. Well, that didn't tell me how to make one, but that did tell me how to break one.
That's
how big was it getting?
It was getting big.
Also seems to imply they had a will to live if he fucked up your face. True. There's the classical narrative, the Golem of Prague. Also known the late 16th century rabbi of Prague, also known as the Maharal, who reportedly created a golem out of clay from the banks of the Vltava River and brought it to life through rituals and Hebrew incantations to defend the Prague ghetto from anti-Semitic attacks and pogroms. Depending on the version of the legend, the Jews in Prague were to be either expelled or killed under the rule of Rudolf II, the Holy Roman Emperor. The golem was called Joseph. It had a name.
Aww.
So Joseph, and was known as Yusel. So he was called Joseph, but known as Yusel. I guess it's like a title. It was said that he could make himself invisible and summon spirits from the dead.
Double whammy.
He got things he can do. Rabbi Lowell deactivated the golem on Friday evening by removing the Shem before the Sabbath Saturday began, as to let it rest on the Sabbath. He was treated.
It's going to have a happy ending because he was nice to it.
One Friday evening, Rabbit Lowell forgot to remove the Shem and feared that the golem would desecrate the Sabbath. It's not the golem's fault. A different story tells of a golem that fell in love and, when rejected, became the violet monster seen in most accounts. Some versions have the golem eventually going on a murderous rampage. The rabbi then managed to pull the Shem from his mouth and immobilize him in front of the synagogue, whereupon the golem fell to pieces. Matt, you spoke too soon.
Yeah.
My
bad.
He either goes on a murderous rampage, gets rejected, and just poor golem, poor Joseph. The golem's body was stored in the attic of the old new synagogue. My brain has to process that, where it would be restored to life again if needed. Okay, so he's probably fine. He just took him apart for a little while.
He's napping.
He then forbade anyone except his successors from going in the attic. Trying to see if there's any more. I think this is just on the storage. Oh, so somebody tried to go up there and then got the shit scared out of them and came back down.
When is this historically?
1800s, I think it's 16th century, so 1700s, right? Or 15. I forgot which way it goes. 15.
Yeah,
okay.
1500s.
According to legend, the golem is still there. But when the attic was renovated in 1800, there was no evidence to be found. Somebody just moved him to a different storage. It's fine.
Yeah, different attic.
Some versions of the tale state that the golem was stolen and then entombed in a graveyard in Prague. A recent legend tells of a Nazi agent who went into the synagogue attic and died under suspicious circumstances. Because the golem got him. So yeah, that's the golem of Prague.
I'd never heard that before.
It's like Talos, the bronze statue that guarded the thing. I like how specifically they were like, and they gave him the day off.
Yeah, they're like
till one day.
He worked Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. He had a 30-minute lunch.
Then there's the Golem of Vilna, which is the saintly genius from Vilna. A rabbi reported in an introduction that he presented to his teacher 10 different versions of a certain passage and asked the Goin to determine the correct text. They immediately identified one version as the accurate rendition of the passage. What does this have to do with the golem? This does not explain to me what this has to do with the golem. But then it says that golems often come with a theme of hubris, which I can see. As we were discussing, a lot of the simulacrum myths have that theme of hubris.
I mean, because they use the Old Testament, I think. Mm-hmm. I'm not entirely sure. So yes. If Adam was created out of clay,
he's a golem.
They're creating golems out of clay. It's just
they're creating
God.
Yeah,
even though they're kind of good, but still that's just there.
That's also a lot when modern science tries to advance and stuff. A lot of people start fear mongering, we shouldn't be playing God, we shouldn't be doing that. Cloning, when that first came about, mm-hmm. It's we shouldn't do that. You can't play God, but now we can clone organ transplants.
So clone. There's a trope called cloning blues, which kind of goes with the whole cloning blues.
Cloning blues, okay.
Yeah, and I guess it falls back to how those things might be do I have a soul or not? While that and mm-hmm. clones are well, what am I? Because I'm not the original. Don't know.
There was I forgot if it was Nietzsche or I left the thing because I was going to prepare to shut down. But I didn't go too into it at the beginning because my brain was too dead to try to figure out philosophy. But some of the early philosophers, Plato, was basically a simulacrum is just a copy of an original, right? If it's a painting, it's a copy. If it's a sculpture, it's a copy. It's just a representation of something else, right? And then this other philosopher was okay, but if it's a copy, then is the original no longer original because there's two of them? Or no. And he just kept going. He's there's 4 different categories of simulacrum. Because Plato said that there were 2 kinds. There's one where you try to represent it as accurately as possible, and then there's one where you distort it. And it used Greek statues, the forced perspective of Greek statues as an example. Because the really tall Greek statues are actually disproportionate so that you can see them as if they are proportionate from the bottom. So he was also caricatures are an intentionally distorted thing. And then the other guy, like, he was like, yeah, if you create a second, is the original still the original? Because now there's two of them, or does an original no longer exist? Which I'm like, sir, what are you smoking? But then he had other things and stuff, and I'm like, I see where the sci-fi debates originated from, sir, with you.
It's your fault.
And then if I understand, if Cloning Blues is what I think it is, it's like those two brothers in that adult superhero cartoon show we watched, where like the one guy, like if what they're not twins. One is the clone of the other one, and like if
You talk
one
about the
dies,
dude from
they
the
just
people from Invincible.
yeah, and if one dies, he just makes another clone of himself, and then it like doesn't matter who's the original anymore because he's cloned himself so many times.
Yeah, there was like a
So
he said there's a reason for that, and I don't remember the why.
he's like, so it doesn't matter which one dies because like occasionally he'll kill his own clone because he like can't mentally handle it to handle whether or not he's the original. So he'll kill his own clone to be the original and then clone another one. It's really mindfucky. So, as our final thing, thought that I had prepared this banner, but I forgot to click the. What would be y'all's favorite simulacrum?
there's a fairy tale in, I guess, East Slavic whatever, and it's basically like the gingerbread man, but it's for that. It's like a rolling pancake, but the pancake has a face.
Ooh, that reminds me. The haunted pizza from Jimmy Neutron.
That sounds horrifying. That's Sam's story.
No,
Copyright.
This
I
is a
should
floating
sue.
pizza with a face.
My favorite simulacrum?
Yeah, just like that you can think of your favorite artificial thing, like character type.
I'm gonna have to go with Frankenstein's monster. Like it's just so good. Like that.
You heard I'm the favorite, not you.
Bitch, he destroyed me because he couldn't handle two of you. You threw too many tantrums, killed his little brother.
Yeah, too dramatic. I would just like.
We were going to go into the Amazon and like eat nuts and berries, or yeah, that's what he said.
The vibes were off.
Yeah, like apparently Marie Shelley was a vegetarian and she was trying to push vegetarianism on people.
That's why this motherfucker ate berries and shit the whole time.
But I don't get why you would make Frankenstein, right, the monster, vegetarian, and then
You
make
said
him
that's all I needed to eat.
Horrible monster. Yeah.
You should eat nuts and berries like this guy.
I'm telling you, if you research the like societal things and just the stuff that an author does, it will, not all the time, because you know sometimes a cigar is just a cigar, but a lot of the times it will provide very fascinating context to what you've read. And I mean, I know not everybody likes that. Some people just like thinking Frankenstein's, you know, odd and likes to eat nuts and berries, but I find it fascinating.
Yeah.
Which is part of why we do these. Chat, do y'all have any favorites, like the Gingerbread Man, Frosty the Snowman? Tina has abandoned us in her time. This is her time to shine.
Yeah, this was your Frosty moment.
Frosty the Snowman. I'm trying to think of what my favorite would be, other than Herman Munster, because that's just stuck in my head right now. Probably Feathertop, now that I know Feathertop exists. Because I mean, he unalived himself by throwing the pipe down because he couldn't handle being a scarecrow. But Mother Rigby,
I don't know.
Apparently, there's other adaptations of that story with like movie that adds layers of drama. Like Mother Rigby and that one guy become enemies, and that's why she wants Feathertop to seduce the daughter. They also give the daughter a fiance who hates.
Scarecrow.
There's so many good ones though.
I think that would make like Rei Ayanami a Simulacrum. Now that I think about it.
Well, Jess, what's your favorite? You know we're fine with problematic faves here. Songs we acknowledge they're problematic faves. Are you talking about Evangelion? Okay, I'm just making sure. For a show I've never actually seen, I know a lot about it, and I don't know.
I think she's like a clone or something. I don't remember.
The purple-haired girl or the redhead?
The blue-haired girl, yeah.
Yeah, she's a clone.
Which is weird because like she's like there's like a trope called Rei Ayanami XP, which means there's a clone of a clone. She's a derivative, whatever the fuck that means in this context.
I don't know what that means in this context.
I don't know either.
Yes, Artemis. May I help you? Do you notice that I'm black and white today too? She's like, Mom, your face, it sort of matches mine.
You dressed up as me.
I'm so touched. So is that one your favorite then, Rei Ayanami?
No, I was just thinking. Oh. I was just thinking because like she's one, so like that's just weird. Mm-hmm. It is also that reminds me of like anime doing stuff like that, like the you know the little dude from the Guyver when he died, and then came back somehow. Like he had like a moment where like, am I a clone or did I just get healed really?
My like clone or was I just resurrected? Like what the fuck happened?
Like what happened to me?
I guess the sci-fi really loves to play with that concept and those ideas.
But then he kind of just gets over it and like, yeah, it doesn't matter, I guess.
Yeah, so what if I'm a clone? I'm alive. That's all that matters. I respect that.
Oh man, that was like that fucking movie with like Arnold Schwarzenegger.
I'm gonna say the AI from Andromeda, whose name escapes me because she is sassy as fuck and like gets so tired of everybody's shit, she just programs the ship to build her a body so she can walk around and no one can ignore her anymore. And I'm like, yes. Nightmare fuel if you ever cross her. But
that's what kind of happened in Mass Effect. The AI of the Normandy. Well, she didn't build one. She like stole.
In Smart House too.
No, yeah, she like did a hologram.
Oh, hologram.
I believe it was a hologram. I mean, it's still the same concept, and the hologram still kind of counts.
Yeah, that definitely counts as a simulacrum. Also, okay, so how many people? I'm gonna do a poll because I should have done a poll to see how many people were familiar at the beginning, but.
Tidus.
Or is it a surprise?
I just can't talk and type at the same time right now.
My favorite simulacrum is Tidus. Yeah, he counts.
He counts. He's a good one. He was a dream the whole time.
Who?
From Final Fantasy X. The hero, the hero's Tidus. He like when you start the game, you're in like a weird futuristic world, and then like it looked like you get isekai'd into like a South Asian inspired world where everything's covered in water or some shit like that, and there's like a giant whale that's killing everybody. Then you find out that he's a dream. Like these people, these like super ancient magi things, I can't quite remember exactly. They're like sleeping, and they dreamt up the futuristic world he belonged in, and he is a facet of that dream basically. And through magic, he comes into the real world.
Character limit.
I'm going to play the other Final Fantasies. I've only ever played 7 and 15.
Oh, you can just stop at 7. That's all you need to play.
Poll is up. All right, I'm just asking if people already knew the word, if people learned the word today, already knew the word, or if they didn't learn it today, but they learned it over the course of the time I was preparing for this. Because anybody who was like, I have no idea what that is, I was like, oh well, you probably do, you just don't know the word. So, because that'll be interesting for me to find out. But yeah, so I'm doing that poll. We're gonna go ahead and do outros so that we can.
Asta.
I am the creator of life, Gene Wilder, also known as Matt Hollon. I'm a dark fantasy author working on my debut dark fantasy adventure novel. I also have a dark fantasy pirate short story available called The White Harvester. It's featured in Sasha Black's The Rebel Diaries anthology alongside 12 other short stories, and it is available for purchase on Amazon and other book-selling sites. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and you can catch me streaming this Saturday on my channel that has no videos as of yet. And, it needs to be added to my link tree. This Saturday, 8 to 11, for the worldwide Writeathon. Dubba. It'll have Sam. It'll have CB. It'll have Savion. We're going to have a great time. We're going to sprint. We're going to chat. We're going to probably
You're also on my stream?
I am not on your stream.
No.
I'm here next Monday for Write-In with CB.
Yes. Okay.
But yeah, as far as Dubba is concerned, my only stream is the one I'm hosting.
Because we're going to do 3 days of productivity sprints. And then one more.
And then one more for the road.
I don't know how productive we're going to be Monday.
But Monday's going to be up.
I couldn't line up my movie. Let's talk with it.
Yeah. And yeah, that's me.
All right.
My Gene Wilder hair just became hair.
I tried the Bride of Frankenstein hair, and it was up here, and then it has just steadily gone down.
I just became more and more med student as this went on.
You lost your PhD.
Yeah.
Beb.
I've got to give him vocal cords. That's my bad.
I am the creation. I am a husband, and I am a father, and I am a dork. That's what he put in the brain cavity up here. So
those are the ingredients.
You may find me on Twitter
and stuff. Eventually, sorry, but just the ingredients to a brain made me think of sugar, spice, and everything nice.
Eat over there.
Oh, so is Edward Scissorhands.
Oh, yeah, bring it here.
Y'all can continue. I guess one day when he gives me appropriate, a good enough mind, I'll write my story.
I'll shoot you some DLC.
Just add brain mass to
some noggin DLC.
Well, I can't help you right now. Wait until I finish my stream. We're doing our outros. I'm being interrogated about juice.
Flashlight on.
2:30. Yep, 2:30. Juice and ravioli. Sorry, I missed it. Did you finish your outro? Sir? Was that a yes?
Yes. I said, yeah, I nodded, and then I was like...
I didn't see the nod. I was looking at the poll. Hi, and I am writing bride Samantha on Nasset. On my channel, I talk about writer things, parent things, and writer-parent things. On Mondays, I host live streams, sometimes like this, where we talk about whatever the fuck I want to talk about. Like in 2 Mondays from now, we will be talking about Hocus Pocus and maybe Hocus Pocus 2, because that came out and I still need to watch both of them. I mean, I've seen the first one. I just want to rewatch it before I see the second. But either way, if you would like to read a sample of my writing, you can go to my website, samantha.nasset.com. I have a spooky flash fiction up called Until Pizza Do Us Part, and a villainous murder short story called All That Glitters. I think they're both good for the spooky season. I think you know. And if you would like to keep up to date with all things Sam, while you're there, you can sign up to my newsletter. If you enjoyed this stream and you would like to look forward to more, or just, regular write-ins where we hang out and stuff, you can subscribe, ring-a-ding that bell. And if you'd like to tip me, you can go to my Ko-fi down below.
Give Sam money.
Yeah, so thank you, everybody, for coming. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for chatting with us. And it was a good old time. I hope everyone enjoyed it. And as soon as I find my brand, we'll see you next time.
We'll
Bye.
see you all this weekend on the Dubba Dubba.
Yeah. Oh, right. Yes. The Dubba Dubba Dubba, the triannual event that I help co-host. I will be on the opening stream with Jess on Friday at one moment as I check the schedule. Okay, 8 moments because I have forgotten how to run my life.
Friday, October 20th.
At 5:30 Eastern time. 5:30 Eastern time, I will be on the opening ceremony. I will also be at Social Sprint #1 with CB at 8 p.m. Eastern. Then I'm hosting Productivity Sprint 3 at midnight Eastern. Then I'll be on Matt's channel with him at 8 on Saturday. And then I'll be in the closing. No, I'll be on Savion stream. That's not on my schedule yet, which is the final social stream. And then I will also be in the closing ceremony and running the after party. I will be everywhere. Just come. Enjoy. Let's get some productivity done. All right. And thanks everybody who watched this on the replay. Now, we'll catch you later. Bye.
Toodaloo.